Thanks very much, Alistair. Really appreciate it. Good afternoon to you all. Again, first and foremost, just like to thank Corporate Jet Investor for another amazing event. I see Alistair's run out already. Well done, Alistair. And I'd like to thank you guys for the next 20 minutes of your lives. Again, my job now is to be on point. Again, the subject for me is how to stand out. Now, again, with a grey suit and a rather blue suit and grey hair, we do something quite special. Okay, what do we got here? This is the outfit I was thinking of wearing, but probably for good reason didn't. Is this guy getting noticed, or is this guy standing out? I have an opinion there, maybe one that you'd support. He's certainly getting noticed. Nothing wrong with that. We'll come back to this guy a little bit later when we talk about AI and attention to detail. And I don't know whether you see anything in that image or not. But again, my topic, standing out. So, how do we stand out in a highly competitive market? Let's just talk about the world of brokerage here in the UAE, maybe here in Dubai. Last count, there were 65 brokers with offices, maybe 265 with a briefcase, and is it 2,065 that do it as a side hobby? What do I mean by a side hobby? It can be a real estate broker, could be an engineer, could be a pilot. And again, you only know the quality of your broker when things don't go well and when you need somebody to stand behind you. So, okay, if it's not about standing out through your outfit, it must be about standing out about price, yeah? Now, since forming RightJet 4 or 5 years ago, I've been asked maybe less than 5 times about sustainability, and there's not a day that goes by where somebody doesn't ask us about price. So it's all about price then. So on the second slide, we've got it nailed. No, unfortunately, it's not just about price, and it's certainly not a race to the bottom, but it is part of the story. So let's talk a little bit more about price. Again, people often refer to price, who's the cheapest? Again, it's not about who's the cheapest, it's about who's offering the best value. And in that regard, I don't think there's a person in the room that's got the cheapest pair of shoes on. There's a good reason for that. They don't last very long, they make your feet sweat, and also, as I say, give it a few weeks, the bottom's fallen off. What you're actually looking for, in your service provider, whether it's a broker, whether it's an FBO, whether it's a maintenance company, a legal firm, wherever it is somebody with a good pair of shoes on, whether they're running shoes, whether they're a good pair of walking boots, that's going to guide you down what is a windy road full of potholes, and actually ideally not fall into any of those potholes, get you to the other end. But if there is anything unforeseen, they've got a good pair of shoes on to get you through the other side. And I think that has to be our messaging, because this race to the bottom, at least in terms of charter brokering, is a real difficult one. 65 companies here in Dubai with offices, with overheads, that could probably stand behind you when there's an issue. What are the others going to do? From my experience, there has been times where we've had to stand behind our client. The biggest check I've written out is $267,500, where as an operation, we've done nothing wrong. Contractually, we're 100% covered, but we've stood behind our client. Would those 2,065 other brokers that are doing this as a side hobby be able to do that? I don't think so. So, price, part of the story. Again, we'll stick with charter market, and again, some of the pressures on maybe some of the community to look at more lateral solutions than they should. So let's have a look at the first one. We are still seeing illegal aircraft. To me, there's no such thing as a grey market. It's either on an AOC or it's not. This one came about for the first time, in my experience, about a year ago. Bait and switch operators. What do I mean by them? Well, you book an ultra-long haul and you end up with a heavy jet. So you book a Gulfstream, you end up with a Challenger. Okay, you look very closely at the contract and it says, well, substitute aircraft. And actually, when you find out, the ultra-long range, the Gulfstream or whatever it was never actually available in the first place. So this is something else for us to watch. And then financial risky operators. And maybe, just maybe, as we're in this sort of Steady times, it's not a huge risk. And here we've got a picture of an empty runway. What happens when the operator doesn't turn up? Does your brokerage stand behind you or not? Anyway, let's move on. So how do we really differentiate ourselves as service providers? I'll tell you here our story. We're not just a brokerage. We do aircraft sales, we do management, we do consultancy, but it is a highly competitive market. So from a RightJet perspective, I challenged myself last year, how do we stand out? So we opened 2 offices, actually. I was only expecting one. We're very fortunate in winning 2 offices, one at the Burj Al Arab, the other one at the Emirates Palace in Abu Dhabi. 2 iconic, very difficult to get into locations. And maybe if we were Ferrari or Lamborghini, it would have been a little easier. But a lot of hard work, effort, and this word credibility came into it. So by opening these offices, it gave us accessibility. Now, if you think about it, COVID taught us many things. One of them was you could actually do business from anywhere. You can do it online, you can do it over the phone. But actually, if you think about it, whilst this business is about aeroplanes, it's about people, probably more so about people. So us opening these offices, basically the strategy was 1, brand awareness. And if you think about it, here in the UAE, there's some very strong brands, really, really strong branding. So again, do we copy? Do we emulate? Do we do something different? And again, these aren't the only showrooms in the world. It's more of a lounge in the Burj. Again, if you're passing, do give us a call, come and see us. But in the Emirates Palace in Abu Dhabi, we have a full showroom. So we have a mock-up of a G700, we have the big screens, and so forth. So it'd be lovely to see you up there. Interestingly, in terms of the big screen, we have taken the approach of showing sort of an open fire, having some beach music going on. Why? Because first meetings don't tend to be about buying a BBJ or an Airbus. It's about getting to know your client. And if I have a recommendation, get face-to-face with your client, get to know them, let them get to know you. This business is about trust. Okay, are some traits timeless? Now, I think you probably recognize these 2 guys. So the Wright brothers. Okay, the words in red here come straight from the traits of the Wright brothers. A case of being brave. For us, this was a brave move within a difficult market. Again, perseverance. I think anybody that's in sales in 2025 knows all about perseverance. Lifelong learners. Again, 38 years in the industry, I'm still learning. I can tell you that now. Happy work environment. To me, that's really, really important. I've worked for some amazing companies with some amazing cultures, some maybe not so, but that is something that I wanted to bring into RightJet. Many of the other words, again, there's bits and pieces here: ethics, professionalism, innovation, knowledge, transparency, straight talking, and of course, client focus. Probably the one I bring out as a highlight, at least for the moment, is teamwork. We win, you win. I always talk about win-win-win scenarios. Now, number 1 has to be the client. Number 2, member of the team. Number 3, us as a company. And if you think about it, they're all directly related. We now bring in corporate agility. Again, it's a changing world, and it's very interesting to hear about AI earlier. Again, it's a whole new world. But whatever your business is, we have to be agile. Again, a little bit like a chameleon. We're continually changing who we are. The other one is relevance. We have to be relevant. And maybe one of the dangers as you get a little older, a bit more experience as well, that's what we always did. Well, that's great. That was wonderful 10 years ago. That was wonderful 5 years ago. But what's in it for today? What's in it for tomorrow? And that's always a good one for us to remind ourselves about. So to me, these are probably old-fashioned or traditional or very relevant qualities that we want to stick with to today. Again, this one probably takes it back to me or you as an individual, because again, you can work for the most amazing organization, but how do you stand out? Okay, aim high, be the best of the best, or the best you can be. let's be honest. You know, I might not always be the smartest guy in the room, certainly not the smartest guy in the room today, but you can be the best you can be. Now, why have we got cyclists up here? A few of you will probably know this story already, but traditionally the British were never really very good at any sports, certainly not cycling, back until 2008. Now, in 2008, these guys adopted, and again it was before that, but the 2008 Olympics, they adopted something called aggregate marginal gain. And they went from winning 0 medals, I think, in our history, to winning 9 out of 18 gold medals. How did they do that? It was the 1% rule. So they lightened the bike by 1%, they trained a little bit harder, they did this, they did this, they did this. A bit like compound interest, it all adds up. Okay, no surprises there. What does this mean to me? Listening harder to the client. It really is their aircraft, their way. Now, obviously, there's a ton of regulation, safety parameters. You know, these are, hard lines that we can't cross. But if you forget who the client is, good luck. Okay, arrive a little earlier, depart when the job's done. I could have on here, arrive a little earlier, depart a little later. But if you're working through into the evening, so be it. But if you can finish at 3 o'clock in the afternoon after starting 6 o'clock in the morning, do it. But it's all about arriving on time, getting the job done. I can tell you now, if you ever go for a client meeting, or a job interview actually, and you arrive late, don't bother arriving, better off not going. Okay, being contactable 24 or 25/7. What do I mean by this? Okay, it is a 24/7 business, I think we all know that, but what I would say is to your top 5, top 10 clients, you're available all the time. Certainly as a business leader, if you want to keep those top 5, top 10 clients, be there for them. Again, you're on vacation. Good luck. Somebody else will take the call. It's late, it's a Friday evening, somebody else will take the call. I'm not saying be on call for everyone, but be on call for your top 5, 10 clients and your team. Probably the latter, just as important. Assess lateral options. Again, sometimes you do have to almost say no. And I do say almost because normally there's a lateral option. We can't go here, but we can go there. We can't do this, but we can do that. So keep presenting the lateral options. Continuous improvement. Yeah, as individuals, we can all get better. I can get better, I can tell you. Probably starting with this presentation. Anyway, making that extra call, again, in the sales environment, I think even in any environment, maintenance, making that extra call, following up, is it done? Oh, I assumed. Oh, good luck. Just wait for it to screw up, eh? Working a little smarter, again, that's harder, smarter, a little bit of both, actually. Okay, and making every interaction special. I really believe in that. So whether you're meeting the client, and I say this to my team all the time, make the trip special. Again, how you do that depends on the client. Tenacity. Gosh, how many times I should have given up, could have given up, but no, you have to keep battling on. Okay, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. And again, I say this probably to the guys as more than anyone, is understand your weaknesses. I always say I'm not a pilot, I'm not an engineer, and I'm not. And that's okay. I know some wonderful pilots and I know some wonderful engineers, but I'm not going to give you flight advice, try and fly your aeroplane, or start getting stuck into some sort of camo issue I don't understand. Let me bring in somebody that does. Attention to detail. Okay, we could ask Olivia how many times I did this presentation, how many times I sent it. I think this is the 3rd, because I picked up on a couple of little things that I thought I might add in. Thanks, Olivia, for your patience. A couple of things I left in here that weren't necessarily attention to detail. One of which was, I don't know if you remember the first image with this chap in the Union Jack outfit, his suit. He was missing his hands. I don't know if you saw that. So again, I left that in. I'll talk a little bit more about AI in a second, albeit it's been covered far more proficiently than I have. And again, I will touch on technology in a second, in fact, about now. but I know my limitations. I'm not going to get too stuck into this topic. The customer interface, absolutely. Tech is key. Tech is important. Operational efficiency, cost efficiency, and as I say, fortunately, it's been covered very well today by Robert. AI, again, this is a new world. Probably not my world, but it's something we all have to be conscious of. All I would say there is, in these early stages, friend or foe. And I think we have to think about that as we move through. And, just for example, we've done this wonderful image of this chap in the Union Jack, but he's got no hands. I've seen a couple of bits on LinkedIn with a lady with 3 legs. I'm all for inclusivity, but it's probably not what they were aiming at. So this is really, really important. Oh, yeah, something else was a family of 4, and then you count there's 5 people. Again, I know where it's going, and again, it's quick, it's easy. I did think about, and maybe as a first presentation, whether you could actually replace me with a hologram and everything already recorded, word perfect, in the words of Shakespeare, William Churchill, or the Wright brothers. And maybe for a first attempt or first time, that would be really cool. But actually, I think you quite enjoy me standing here, sweating a little bit and messing up with the odd word. But it's one to watch. I think it's already been covered off, but I think the big one in terms of how to stand out, at least as a broker, is going to be this charter app. It's elusive at the moment. It obviously relies on every operator being able to have or generate their own pricing in real time automatically. But I think that's probably the next one that's coming, and that's probably the watch out in terms of the broker fraternity. The human element, will that always be there? I'd like to think so, but I don't know so. Okay, that's me done.
Okay, you've got a question saying, how do you scale service excellence?
I think it's about having passionate leaders, passionate team members, the selection process. Again, I'll be honest with you, there was talk earlier about great people here in the UAE. There absolutely is. There's great people in our industry, but attracting great people, even if you have the right company culture, is very, very difficult. It's not difficult to attract the wrong people, but getting the right people. But so, in my opinion, is having the right leaders, and as a business leader, knowing your own limitations and knowing when to delegate.
Will we see RightJet in the kingdom?
Okay, in terms of management, I would imagine that's probably next on the list. Consultancy, we've already done some projects. In terms of aircraft sales, and I've got some very learned peers here in the room, and I listen to my peers. Timing's not right just now, it will be, but aircraft sales, not yet. And I think this is where we're very well placed in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi and here, to actually interact in a private environment.
And do you believe all publicity is good publicity?
Oh gosh, that's a good question, isn't it? Personally, no, but again, I'm learning, and I often talk about other brands, other companies doing this, doing that. Is it always relevant? Is it necessary our path? But the fact is, you end up talking about them, rightly or wrongly. Any publicity is good publicity. I think somebody far more learned said it probably was.
How do you find overall quality of brokerage in the region?
Anything from amazing to shocking and horrid. And again, where you're dealing with somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, they've got no way of supporting their client if things don't work out, they've got no office. Again, I know this is a B2B conference, but if it was B2C, I would say the same thing with absolute certainty. So there's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And final question, are your showrooms supporting the brand or to generate revenue?
Okay, in answer to that, both. Revenue generation's already there. It's going to take time. Aircraft sales is not like selling ice creams. I'm sure there's many people in the room. Sorry. Yeah, it's not like selling ice creams. It's not something that happens in 5 minutes. I wish it was. Would you like strawberry? Would you like vanilla? Have a flake, job done. It's a BBJ, no, it's an Airbus. So in terms of revenue generation, it's a slow burn. In terms of brand, this is a big word here. Sorry, help me here. Differentiation?
Differentiation.
That's it, thank you. I know my limitations. The answer is absolutely it's working. Why? Because I wouldn't be here now speaking to you good folks. I wouldn't have an interview with USA Today or the Khaleej Times next week where they've actually reached out to me, first time in 38 years. They're interested in my opinion, which is pretty cool.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Mark. Thank you.